Your Dynasty League's starting to take shape. We're 5 weeks into the fantasy season. You could be one player away from pushing for that title, or are you already looking forward towards 2025? I'm going to dive into 5 players you need to be trading for or away in your Dynasty Leagues right now. Let's start at the top. Jayden Reed. Okay, I'm a huge Jayden Reed fan. I was a big fan of him coming out. I'm a big fan of him this offseason. He is currently wide receiver 5 on the season. Elite production, elite offense, elite volume tied to a potentially elite quarterback. Yet he is still being valued as a fringe wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. There are times in Dynasty where you need to bite the bullet and buy high because the price is only increasing. And Jayden Reed's one of those guys. His production through 5 weeks has been phenomenal, but I think it's going to keep getting better. I think that this guy is potentially going to be a wide receiver 1 for several years to come. We see his ability to consistently get open with ease, but also the manufactured touches, the way that LaFleur is able to scheme him up time and time again. I'm happily going and paying a first and a second. I don't necessarily think you have to pay that much. Maybe you can pivot from another middling wide receiver, add an asset, go and get Reed right now, because I do wonder if people are looking to kind of sell at peak value, but I think his value could keep increasing. Going slightly more negatively now, I'm selling Travis Etienne. Some people will say, okay, you're selling low. He had a bad week. Bigsby's not sustainable. Doug Peterson's talking about Etienne being the starter. I think this is inevitable. Travis Etienne, since he's entered the league, has just been average. He's had some great fantasy production when he's seen obscene volume, but the Jags have consistently talked about not wanting to give him huge workloads because they think that he's better in smaller touches. Well, Bigsby has looked more explosive. Travis Etienne hasn't hit 70 yards in forever. Bigsby's doing it week in, week out right now. I think that Travis Etienne, he could potentially be traded. He's got his 5th-year option next year, which the Jags have already picked up. It's only $6 million. That's really palatable for a running back. I think the Jags could get a late day 2 pick for Etienne in a trade to a running back needy team. Could we see someone like the Cowboys send a 3rd-round pick for something like Travis Etienne? Would make sense, would open up room for Bigsby, and you get an asset that you can start your rebuild around with the Jaguars. I think his value is only going to decline. I would happily take a mid-second round pick right now. I think maybe you can get a little bit more just on name value and kind of production value alone. But for me, I'm getting out on Etienne because I think his value is only going one way. The guy that I'm buying this week, though, Jaylen Polk. Look, we saw him ease into things at the start of the year. His snap share has consistently increased. He was an every snap player last week. He has seen over 20% target shares each of the last 2 games. He is now a true number 1 receiver in this offense. Oh, and Drake May is now starting. This offense has been absolutely abysmal with Jacoby Brissett under center. He's a lovely guy. He's a fantastic mentor. Probably going to be a very good coach one day. But he can't push the ball downfield and he can't move. You add in Drake May, whose mobility is going to help this offensive line, which is falling apart with injuries. His arm strength is going to open up areas of the fields that Jacoby Brissett hasn't seen in 5 years. I think that Jaylen Polk has got the potential to be a league-winning wide receiver down the stretch. We talk about targeting those rookie wide receivers that could help down the stretch in the second half of the year really blow up. I think Jaylen Polk is absolutely that. I would happily pay a mid-second round pick. I don't think you need to go that far. DLF, Keep Trade Cut have both got his value as a 3rd round pick. I think there's a chance someone's just looking at his fancy potential output. He's not scored over 10 points. He's not had over 3 receptions in a game. Now is the time to go and buy Jaylen Polk, because even if you think you're slightly overpaying because of the Drake May hype, I don't think it is. I think Jaylen Polk is the real deal. He gets open. He is a fantastic route runner at all 3 levels, and I think that he could be a league winner down the stretch right now. Before I move on to my next guy, though, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you doing? I'm here every week doing buys and trades. Tom's doing the waiver wire on a Monday. And then, of course, we've got the big preview show on a Thursday. We've got DFS at the weekend. And Tyler's doing his start sits on the Sunday. We've got everything you need to win in season. And then once we get into the offseason, that's really where we kick into gear. Hit the subscribe button and stick around, because we will help you win your fantasy leagues. Another player I'm looking to sell now, Zach Ertz. It's not glamorous. It's not going to win you a huge haul in a trade. It's not going to win you any likes on Twitter. But it's time to just pivot off Zach Ertz. The career is done. I think he's only, going out to pasture now. But tight end is such a dumpster fire. The fact that he's seeing 5 targets a game at the moment, someone is willing to pay to bring him in and put him in a tight end platoon and hope that there's some production. Plus, you get to buy into this Jayden Daniels hype, which is absolutely insane at the moment. And hopefully, you can maybe get a solid pick. So I think I would take a third. I think maybe there's a chance you get 2/3 if it's like a tight end premium or someone really needy at tight end. But Zach Ertz, I think his snap share is going to start to decline over the coming weeks. I think we're going to start to see Benson come in, and I'm just not impressed. I think he struggles to beat man coverage. He's only really operating versus zone, and I just don't think he's ever going to be anything more than the roster clogger for the rest of his career. So basically, anything you can get in a trade is a win for me. The final guy I'm buying, Jaylen Waddle. Look, I get the concerns about Tua's re-injury risk, but he's coming back healthy. And you can guarantee at the end of this season, the Dolphins are never going to put themselves in a situation where if they're sticking with Tua long term, they don't have a competent backup, because what they've got right now is an absolute joke. He is currently wide receiver 23 on Keep Trade Cut. He got his price as maybe as little as a late first round pick next year. This is a guy who in September was the wide receiver 12. The talent is there. The usage is there. It's just a quarterback injury. Tua could be back in 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, Jaylen Waddle is back producing. This offense looks completely different. And I think that you can go and buy the injury dip on Jaylen Waddle. People are talking about going and buying Tyreek Hill. Nobody's talking about Jaylen Waddle. Nobody wants Jaylen Waddle. The person who's rostering Jaylen Waddle right now probably is sitting him on the bench. Go and see if you can pounce. I would pay up to a first and a second. But as I said, based on current prices, you don't have to get anywhere near that to acquire him. Go and ask around Jaylen Waddle, because it could help you win a league down the stretch. Do you disagree with any of those 5 guys? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up and the subscribe button as you head out. I'll be back later in the week with the Thursday preview show, and we'll see you live 9 p.m. UK time.